Gormagat Cahirlach agus Gormagat Sutton Shans Cúpla Folklore Maidir leis an Tuairis an Cóchiste Talavíochta. First of all, I'm not a member of the Agricultural Committee, but I did attend a number of the meetings that were held at the time, and a very interesting meeting. I'm sorry I didn't get to all of them at the time. Certainly, I think they were very informative, and they, as I said, led to the formulation of this report. As a former REPS planner, I'm very familiar with the whole area of commonages and the various schemes that have been enacted over the last number of years, from REPS 1, 2, 3, 4, EOS and latterly GLAS. And as I said at a meeting in Westport, the bar has been raised consistently higher over the years, because what was once optional measures under REPS 1 has suddenly become mandatory requirements under Code of Good Farm Practice or the GAC. And that is the reason I think that the standards have had to be risen. And I know, speaking during the time of the previous government, that speaking to department people, they would say that even to get REPS 4 over the line was difficult, because they had to put in a huge costing over all the basic measures and extras that farmers had to do to qualify. So it's become increasingly difficult to get these by the Commission, and I think that's why GLAS has generated a certain amount of difficulty, because the Commission or the department here have had to be cognizant of the requirements of the Commission and said, how are we going to get this over the line? What do we have to do to get it over the line? Because farmers are being paid as it is under the SFP and the DAS for commonages, so they have to do that a little bit extra. And I think that is what we've seen here. And it's not it's I suppose to be expected, considering that as REPS 2 progressed into REPS 3 and REPS 4, there was additional options the farmers had to do to get money. So I suppose this is to be expected. Just regarding the report, I'd like to commend all those that have been involved, much more so than I was, all the members of the committee, the chairman, Andrew Doyle, and others. And I would have, on behalf of IFA in Galway and Mayo back in 2012, invited a delegation to meet the Minister here in the department offices to discuss a number of options, and this has preceded the min-max figures, or perhaps it was just after the min-max figures that were published in the Irish Farmers Journal, which led to a lot of concern regarding commonages, regarding the people felt that they would be dropping from I don't know, 100 euros down to 30 euros, for example, if every farmer was giving a minimum number of sheep that they would have to hold on a hill. Thankfully, the Department of Agriculture didn't send out letters on behalf of the National Parks and Wildlife. If they had, there'd have been more. I think they held back on those, but they were still published in the Farmers Journal, and there was a lot of concern about them. At the time, I suppose the discussion of the IFA was that nothing would be implemented without a sort of a liaison group. Now, this has led into the Commonage implementation group that I'll discuss in a moment. But just to deal with a few issues in the report, and the proposals being considered by the Department on page 8 were to increase the stocking of sheep and commonage lands as a means of addressing undergrazing. As we know, we've seen problems of undergrazing being exacerbated over the last number of years. Destocking took place as was right and required, and unfortunately, there was probably an over-level of destocking, or as farmers are getting older, and there's a huge problem in the area, especially hills. Farmers are getting older, not farming hills to the extent that they might have been. So this has led to these problems. Again, the prescribed minimum maximum stocking levels for individual commonages that are discussed, and the focusing payments on active farmers. And again, this is a tricky one, because you have commonages that are being actively grazed by a number of farmers, but not all farmers. And I have felt, and I expressed this view previously, that if active farmers, if a commonage is able to take 300 sheep, and there's 10 shares and there's none of them dormant, and we'll say there's 3 farmers who are actually grazing sheep on that hill, and they each farm 100 sheep, in my view, that hill has been farmed right and correctly in good GAC, and in my view, that should be the end of it. Now, I know, Minister, you expressed concern that the Commission wouldn't allow payment for the farmers who have claiming on that land under SFP but aren't actively farming it. I don't know, has that been clarified or not? But in my view, if the hill has been farmed correctly, that should be the basis of where we go on it. Just regarding the burning, the issues of just regarding the lead-in times. Again, farmers if they have to increase stock, and many of them do obviously want to increase stock, some of them have been destocked for a period of time, and they want to increase the level of stock that they have on the farm, there needs to be a lead-in time over a number of years. As I think the Minister appreciates that you cannot just go down to Mount Cross and buy 100 ewes or 100 hoggets and put them up on a hill. They'll wander everywhere unless they're bred. I think you understand that, and I think that's part of the issue there, to allow them to they need to breed the stock up themselves rather than buying them in. Issues of burning has, again, because of the undergrazing, we have issues of burning, and it's worth noting in the report as well that the requirements or the allowances under the UK is different than they are here, that they have an additional 6 weeks up to the middle of April, and I think that could be explored in terms of, even if it's only for a short period of time, whether it is a year or two or whatever, or any particular reason, that we have higher standards than they have in the UK on that issue, because where there is undergrazing, sheep will not, no matter how many of them you put onto it, will not be able to get that heather and that back to a correct and positive state. Burden farming has been mentioned, and I'm sorry I missed the presentation from the individuals from the Burden. When reps first came out, or when the designations first came out, one of the things the national parks, or DUCRAs or whatever they were called at the time, did was they decided that they knew what was best, and they went in the Burden and decided that all cattle have to come in off the hills. And what happened was the hazel scrub grew up, and it took a number of years before they appreciated that actually the farmers, what they were doing all along was the correct practice. They had the correct idea of what to do. You had the cattle during the early spring to eat the hazel and to prevent the growth of hazel, which would obviously impact on the limestone pavement and the flora and fauna. So in that case, the farmers knew best, and that has to be, accepted here as well. You could take the best lowland farmer, award-winning lowland farmer, and put them up on top of a hill, and they'll be lost in terms of what it is that they need to be doing. So it's a quite specialised, quite different farming system. Just in relation to the recommendations, and recommendation 8 caught my eye. I know I read it at the time, but just looking at the report again recently, where the committee made a recommendation that urges the department to make use of all available funding mechanisms to incentivise farmer-led improvements, and such schemes such as the Burden Life, or in conjunction with existing REPS EOS schemes, should be open to all commonages where at least 80% of active farmers participate in the scheme. Now, that's the first time I saw the mention of the 80%. I was wondering, obviously the department have been pushing it, but it appeared in this report, which I suppose perhaps this was a recommendation of the report, which contained government and opposition. Perhaps this is where the department felt that they could go ahead in terms of the glass scheme in pushing that. Now, thankfully they've rolled back in terms of the 80 down to 50%, but having been at a meeting in Westport during the summer, and the only government representative there, which was quite a heated meeting, both against the department and I have to say the IFA as well, even though it was an IFA meeting. I have been in liaison with the Minister and with the local IFA to try and sort some of the things and some of the issues of concern regarding the glass. Now, I didn't get to Mount Cross on Wednesday. I thought it was a farmers' information meeting rather than a politicians' meeting, so that's why I didn't go. Other than that, I have no problem going to a public meeting. I've gone to enough of them defending the government. But she was there, yeah, she was there. I'm sure she spoke glowingly of me, as always. I'm sorry I missed that meeting, but I contacted a few people, and again there has been some concerns about it. I know the meeting broke up at 11:30, so it's time to be going home at that stage anyway. But talking to planners and talking to farmers, there is still some concern regarding what was agreed between the Westport meeting and between then and now, and there is still some concern. And, the most important thing is that we get farmers into a glass scheme, that they get paid, that the commencement date starts early. But there is still concern about the management plans. And in fairness to the IFA that I've been dealing with, they've come a long way where before the summer recess, when we were having debates on the issue of glass, it was no collective agreement under any circumstances. They have moved in the intervening period to saying, yes, we will accept that we can implement collective agreements, but there must be a proper lead-in time. There mustn't be, it mustn't be a situation that you won't get into glass scheme without a collective agreement. What they've come around to say is get us into a glass scheme and allow a lead-in time to put a collective agreement in place. Some of the planners that I spoke to as well felt they had a meeting in Westport again on Tuesday, I think it was, and they have concerns about the implementation of the scheme. There is concern about the number of planners available, and the understanding that the people had following the Westport meeting of August was that you could apply as an individual over the course of a year, that you would give an assurance that you would comply with a management plan or a combined management plan for the Commonage, but that you could apply individually. And that seems to be the sticking point here, Minister, that they now feel that that is not the situation, according to the department officials, that now they're saying that you have to go into the Commonage management plan first. And they also feel that there needs to be a lead by the department in terms of naming a planner for each Commonage, or getting the department to do the plan for the Commonage. As you said yourself, it's not a huge amount of work that might be required, but for farmers to get agreement on who the planner might be, they've been dealing with different planners over the years, so to decide that one planner and to choose that person can be difficult, so maybe the department can have a role on that. But the main concern is that there will be a difficulty for Commonage farmers who obviously want to be, and many of them need to be, a part of this scheme, will be able to enter. So there are still some things to iron out, and I hope they can be ironed out shortly in relation to the glass.
Thank you very much, Deputy Kyne.